Welcome to Equal Inspired, the inclusive podcast, brought to you by Equal IT.
Heather Black joins us, who is an award-winning entrepreneur, a #1 best-selling author, and career coach. As the CEO of Supermums, Heather helps parents to upskill and transition into a career in the Salesforce ecosystem. Heather also co-authored The Unseen Wounds of Women, which become a #1 bestseller on Amazon in 12 different categories. Over the years, Heather has been featured on Marie Claire, The Guardian, and was listed in the top 100 most influential women in tech by Computer Weekly. She also won the Trailblazer Golden Hoodie. Heather also hosts the podcast Mums on Cloud 9, which aims to inspire mums to pursue their careers in tech, whether they're just starting out or climbing the career ladder.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here, Ellie.
It's really great to welcome you today, Heather. And what I absolutely love about you is that you champion this ambitious woman's mindset. And we'd love to know, what inspires you to champion this?
I started out on sort of this, advocacy for women to have flexible work, to be able to work with that flexibility, have the balance and things like that. And that really came into my, forefront when I had a child, because it was at that point you go, oh my gosh, how do I juggle everything? How do I manage the mum guilt? How do I still have a career whilst also feeling like I'm giving to my kid? And obviously there's a lot of different people's perspectives on that. Like some people think you should give up work. Whereas, and that plays on you, right? Because you're thinking, I should be there for the child. And you're thinking, well, I'm quite career driven. Like I don't think I'd thrive as a stay at home mum. And you can lose a sense of yourself in that. Some people are brilliant at that, and that's what they want to do. But we all have our thing, right? The thing that kind of ignites us and energizes us. And I suppose I went through this iteration of, I did find and carve out what I hope and aspire to have a flexible, well-paid career. And it's certainly what I talk to other mums and help them to achieve. But it's all very well to say, actually, yes, you can land a part-time job. Yes, it can be in this industry. Yes, you can earn well. You can do all of that, but still not manage your boundaries, still not manage your energy levels, still not manage, how and what support you get around yourself to really play out. I suppose, perfection feels a little bit perhaps too perfect, but that element of actually, if you're going to have a flexible, well-paid role alongside that balance of family life, there's a lot of things that we need to manage in our mindset and sort of own and control to make sure you've got the right balance, because there's always more work to do than within the hours set. There's always more responsibilities. There's always things to juggle. And so it's about being able to be mindful of that and going, actually, what is it that I need here? Is it need to delegate some things? Is it that I need to go and energize myself and do things differently? Is it that I need to put my boundaries into place and say no to more things, or carve out my diary differently? And this became very relevant for me because I found that I wasn't doing all of that stuff. However much I talked about flexible work and I championed it with other people, I did hit that wall. And having gone through coaching and support, realised actually all of those things I'd missed. I'd sort of forgotten about aligning with my values, forgotten about really spending and I talk about plugging yourself into the plug socket every day. What is it, the thing that you obviously don't do that, but what is it that you're going to do that will give you that energy boost? And ideally it's not caffeine or chocolate, right, which a lot of people sort of thrive off. It is exercise or some reading or listening to music. What is it that's going to energize your spirit and make you whole? So I went through this whole journey myself, re-energized myself, figured a lot of things in my life, and took back control really of how to be happy. And happy was my word. I wanted to be happier. And, that's where I am now, always work in progress, always managing that, but I'm mindful of it. And I think that's the biggest thing that we can lend to ourselves. We are in control of our lives and how we deliver on it. Nobody's in control of that. So I talk a lot about the ambitious women mindset, and that's why, and some of the things that come part of it.
There's a lot of pressures I feel externally from society, from judgments, from other people when it comes into that realm of parenthood and what it means and how we should be acting and the right things that we should be doing. There's a lot of layers to this. Was there anything that helped you to get back in tune with yourself, your energy levels? Did you have like a checklist that you would reflect on weekly or monthly? How did that look?
Yeah, no, really good question. So when I'd reached, I suppose, that bottom point of going, I need help, it was interesting because at that point, the Facebook ads come up all the time, and there was a lady who talks about corporate burnout, and I was like, I need to just grab a call with this lady or her team. And so I went through. I'm a trained coach myself, and we teach coaching at Supermums. But there's sometimes at that point where you can't coach yourself because you're kind of too deep. And so I found it really useful having a coach work with me over a period of time. And, every week they give me set exercises to do. And it was 40 minutes a week, but it just really honed in on certain things. And that structure for me is really important because it's very easy to go, oh, I'll go and do that. And then you don't do it. I had to be on that structured program of 6 weeks. This is what I was going to talk about in the week after, and we'd sort of all be on this program together. And that gave me the catalyst to, I suppose, face stuff, because it's very easy to not face things and avoid them and go, oh, I'll be fine, and you don't do it. So it gave me that accountability, gave me the structure, gave me the exercises and tools, and there was things like values assessment, stuff that I knew that as a coach that I could do. It's just you don't do it quite often, right? Unless it's in there and somebody's telling you to do it. So there was like a values alignment. It was talking about your skills. It was looking at your personality. It was looking at what you can delegate, and just helping you understand, where am I right now? Where is it that what is it that I want? Where am I happy? Where am I not happy? And a lot of things just sort of going through that. So that gave me a lot of tools and techniques that I can embed day to day. Obviously you always champion like, oh, I should do all of these things religiously. But what I do and things that I've shifted on is I will look at my diary on a quarterly basis, if not more regularly, if it's not working, and will jig my hours around. So some fundamental things that I shifted was to block out time where I didn't have meetings in my diary, so I could just get stuff done, which is more my introvert self, because if I'm on meetings all day, my energy levels just get zapped, and I'm not, then my best self in meetings either, and so sort of blocking out time where I could just sit down and crack on with stuff, write content. I really enjoy content writing, and doing the things that I enjoy was really important. Scheduling time, I bought a Peloton because actually I love spinning, but then I don't get to the gym. And so I do religiously go on the Peloton because I really enjoy the music, and the instructors are very uplifting, and I love that interaction with the instructor. Even though it's on a screen, that motivates me. And then I go swimming, twice a week. So through that exercise, it was really interesting, the psychology change, because I struggled to motivate myself to exercise before I did that coaching program. When I would get a personal trainer to basically take me out for a run, it's like, somebody takes your dog for a walk. I'm like, right, take me out the door. And, that was a cost. Whereas since I did that program, it was like everything rewired in my head. And I was like, if I want to perform better, if I exercise and that energizes me, which it does, I perform better. So I need to make time. And also when I go for a swim, sometimes that's when I get my best ideas, or I'm solving problems. So I've just written this 40,000 word book. I'd been stuck with writing a book for ages. I had the theme sort of in my head. It'd been circling around, but I hadn't sort of got it to a point where I was like, right, I know what I'm doing. I went for a swim. This whole book came to me and the chapters, and I literally came back and I wrote it all down, and I've written this 40,000 word book in 2 months, and I've done it. And so I can be working in the pool, because what it does is kind of, when I'm sat on computers doing emails, meetings, whatever, I don't get that creative time. So for it, I suppose just reflecting on that is you can be working in different environments when you're walking or swimming. It can release that creativity. It might be that you just need to reframe how you do things and what it offers you in your life, really.
You're right. It's that domino effect that it has on every aspect of your life, and you have experienced that firsthand. I love that you mentioned the Peloton bike. We actually had a guest, Brianne Kaplan, join us a few episodes ago now, And I remember I asked her what were some of her most favorite motivational quotes. And she actually said a lot of them come from the Peloton bike. So great that you have that inspiration from that too. So this book that you mentioned, is this something new in the works? Because you are already a #1 bestseller.
A book that's already released, I wrote a chapter in, and The Unseen Wounds of Women. And I wrote about this journey of, I suppose, pivotal change in my life, which, included quite a few changes, including a divorce as part of it. So, that talks through all the strategies that I put into place to kind of overcome the burnout and, I suppose, get back on the right footing with a lot of things in my life. So that was what was nice about just doing a chapter in the book. You're like, oh, that was quite, I say easy in inverted commas, but it felt manageable. So it was kind of, I suppose, the first thing to chip away at, rather than sort of, I've got to write this big book. But the new book is going to be released in November in time for Supermums' 7th birthday. And it's how to be a super Salesforce consultant, because what we do at Supermums is help upskill women returners and dads and whoever else, to be fair, that joins us to upskill as Salesforce professionals and earn a fantastic salary. So the book is, I teach a lot of this stuff. I write a lot of content around it. And what I found when I sort of reflected on it in this swim was that actually I had a lot of this content already and I just needed to pull it together. And so I'd pulled together a lot of the content that I had in a structured order, and I had 30,000 words within 3 hours because I had all this content. But the thing is, it sits on your website, it sits in your training materials. And I was like, actually, this is a huge resource that can benefit thousands of people globally. If they can't afford to do our course, we can still share the same content in different ways. So yes, very exciting. So it's in the publishers now. It was very, again, felt relatively easier to put together because it was a lot of the content that I had. I know off by heart. It's about every day. And it's at 40,000 words now. So it goes to publishers for 3 months and then it gets released in November.
Very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to the release of that. And 7 years of Supermums. Congratulations. I can imagine that's gone very, very fast. But I absolutely love that you're helping parents to relaunch their careers and putting the magnifying glass on Supermums. How did that go from idea to then having trained over 1,000 Supermums?
I feel like it's gone quick, and on the other hand, not so quick. So if I backtrack, I suppose at the start of my journey is that I was running a coaching business. So obviously coaching is ingrained in my life quite significantly. And I was coaching young entrepreneurs, age 18 to 30. And I grew that business. We went from 100K to 1.3 million in a year. And we went from 4 staff to 40 staff. And we started using Salesforce to manage all of the information related to all our customers and what they were doing, from the sales to delivery. Anyway, a lot of that business was funded through government contracts. And when Conservative came in and Labour went, the funding landscape changed. So actually, I found myself in a position where we'd had a great run, we'd worked with over 10,000 young professionals through and delivering business and career coaching to them. So it was an incredible journey, but the funding had all kind of disappeared. And so I was having to pivot, and I was just getting married, just about to move out of London. I now live in Hastings. And just about to start a family. And I'm thinking, what on earth am I going to pivot into that's going to pay me, that I can work virtually like 2 hours outside of London and, where there are family and everything else. And because I'd seen the power of Salesforce as a CRM to manage my nonprofits, I thought, actually, I really did enjoy putting this in place and the benefit it can have for nonprofits. So whilst I'd had Salesforce in my company, I had trained up on how to manage it and administrative. And you don't need any coding experience. It was just clicks. You move here, drag and drop here, and you add what data you want it to collect. And you can build reports to see your performance data, and you can create email templates. Like, it was really intuitive. And I hadn't got a background in tech at all. And before using Salesforce, I didn't even know what a CRM was, how to use one. So it was like completely new. And I learned all of this. And I was like, actually, I'd really love to help other nonprofits implement Salesforce to help them fundraise more, manage their volunteers, manage their donations, manage their service delivery, manage their helplines. it can do all of those things. So I invested in more training and I became a Salesforce consultant. And what that enabled me to do was to go into non-profit organizations, sit down and understand their business processes, like how do they fundraise, how do they manage volunteers, and help design a Salesforce system for them to do that in a more efficient, automated way, to collect all their data, make sure it's secure and compliant, and create an all-round better customer experience for everybody. So I'd increased my salary by doing that. So I was working completely remotely, 3 days a week at home, earning £60,000 a year. So I was on £450 day rate doing that. And that was normal, right, for that type of role. It wasn't, extortionate. You could earn more, working with commercial clients. And after doing that for 4 years, I was like, other mums can do this. This is, we need to tell other, mothers or anybody, to be fair, but mothers, obviously, because I resonated with that, having had my newborn, that this is absolutely possible. People need to know about the career opportunities. We need to raise awareness. And so that's when I launched Supermums. So my daughter was 4 years old. I just had my second daughter. I literally like, let's launch this. And I just had my other baby. So I think the endorphins must have been a little bit high in my head at that point. But I just created one page on my existing website, did a page, and I had 3 trainees on my first course. They paid to attend because I couldn't access any funding still to help people with things like that, despite trying. And we had 3 on our first course. And then we slowly went from 3 to 7 to 7 to 7, 10, 15, and now we're up to 60 per cohort. And we run the cohorts 4 times a year. So it's really fantastic. I feel like such a proud parent of seeing where all our trainees have gone in their careers, what they're earning, what flexibility they've got, where they are. It's fantastic. And, I love that part of what we do in our job for sure.
That's so, so fulfilling. And again, you're opening up the possibilities for so many people. Through the lens of a recruiter, I often speak to a lot of people who are considering transitioning into a career, let's say in tech, but they often hold themselves back from these stereotypes or these beliefs that the skills that they had previously, those transferable skills, aren't in any way beneficial. And I really want us to try and break down that stereotype, because you yourself, you come from that non-conventional background in tech and began to thrive as a Salesforce consultant. So I'd love to know from your own experience, Heather, what transferable skills helped you in your Salesforce career?
Yeah, because I was like, what can I do this? What are the different job roles? What skills do I need? So because I'd managed a business or managed teams, obviously I had an understanding of a sales process and a delivery process and fundraising. And, having run a business, I'd help redefine our processes, understand what data we're collecting, think about the reports and KPIs we need. And that's day-to-day business management, right? And that's everything that you just do in a Salesforce job, is you need to understand all of that and redesign it. The extra bit with the Salesforce thing, which I then learned, was how to configure Salesforce to do all of that for you. And quite often that's the missing piece of the puzzle, but I found it was incredibly easy to get my head around and to do. Obviously, there can be more advanced configuration where you might progress as a developer. You certainly don't need to do that if you don't want to, but some of our supermums have gone on to be developers. But as a business analyst, you can just stick with diagnosing what people need, what reports and dashboards, what data they collect. That's a business analyst role. You then got the Salesforce admin role, and the Salesforce admin role is the person that builds the system to meet those requirements. So you don't have to be the one building a system. Then you've got the project manager role, and the project manager is the person liaising with the client, the business analyst, and the Salesforce admin to make sure everything's been done on time. So if you're that kind of person that is a project manager in essence of anything, you can work in the Salesforce industry and project manage teams to get things done and make sure everybody's doing the bit in their part of the puzzle. So, that's the project manager roles. And then you've got the sales role. So I actually progressed. I've worn all these hats in my Salesforce career. I started as a Salesforce consultant is a combination of those 3 roles, a business analyst, Salesforce admin, and project manager, or you can do the roles separately, depending. So I was a Salesforce consultant, so I would sort of play all of those different roles. But certainly if you go into companies, you can be one of those roles depending on what you like and enjoy doing. But then there's also the sales role, which is what I then stepped into, which was selling, this system could do all of these amazing things for you. Would you like it? Yes. Okay, brilliant. All right. And then you go, right, well, this team is going to help you implement it. And actually, I really enjoyed helping solve people's problems and giving them an ideal system that's going to solve their problems and bringing that to life for them. And that worked for me as a mum, because then I didn't necessarily have all the bills and everything else. I played a different role then because I had other stuff going on. I enjoyed that bit. So I've enjoyed each one of those roles for different reasons. But I think what's important to emphasize is that you've got a career path with Salesforce. There's fantastic salaries where you can double your salary. You can go through different job roles. So you can do one for a while and then you can try another one. There's lots of different products to learn. So again, people tend to change jobs every couple of years because it gives you the ability to learn a different industry and a different product, and you diversify that way. And so, I've sort of been privileged to now, I've personally worked with over 100 nonprofits and implemented Salesforce for them. And I love helping those organizations to perform better, to help them solve their management challenges. And so if you've got, any experience improving processes, managing teams, taking people through change, implementing a new technology, whatever technology it is within a team, customer service and speaking to customers, all of those skills are transferable into the industry. The only thing you need to add on is how does Salesforce work and the technology, so you can introduce that as part of those skills. And Salesforce companies, broadly, any company that hires Salesforce people, they look for anybody can learn Salesforce as a certification, but they look at all that other skill set that you've got and industry experience, which industry you've worked in, and they hire on those things more over and above, just getting the Salesforce cert. So that's what I talk about when I raising awareness of the career opportunities, because my role is obviously to kind of educate people and give them enough confidence, clarity, information for them to make an informed decision about whether it's something they want to go into.
Wow, so there's so many layers to a Salesforce and what a career could actually look like. It's not just one dimensional. And for anybody that comes onto your training program at Supermums, what can they expect?
So we take people on a journey, because my background was helping people start businesses and get into employment. It was a combination of things. I had done a lot of research because my job was researching those sorts of aspects and understanding what worked well. So I put together a very comprehensive program that not only provides the technical training, but it also provides one-to-one mentoring. And they get a one-to-one mentor every single week that they meet with. So it creates that accountability. They support them with their homework. They help them understand what they need to do. We provide a career coach. So we tackle that imposter syndrome, build their confidence back up, help them sell themselves into companies. That's all the coaching elements of it. And then we also provide real life work experience. So they can get their hands dirty with the system and have something to put on their CV when they go for their first paid job. So they've got practical work experience. And alongside all of this, they can get then 3 references. So they can get a reference from their mentor, a reference from their work experience person, a reference from their training instructor. And then they'll get their certification at the end. And then we support them into job opportunities. Now, at Supermums, we don't have access or visibility of all the jobs in the ecosystem because it's huge. But what we very much do is say, these are things you need to do in order to be visible in the job market, in order to get a job. And so we do have jobs coming into us at Supermums, and so we will obviously provision our Supermums there where we can, but also we'll be putting, encourage them to sort of go out there. So it's a very comprehensive relaunch your career program to take somebody from A to Z.
That is so, so great. So it's the full package. And I'm just wondering, do you have any statistics that really showcase how lucrative the Salesforce market is at the moment? Because I think especially now more than ever, with how turbulent the market is, particularly in tech, we're seeing so many layoffs, which is really, really tough. Could you just shine the light on a career in Salesforce currently?
It's a really good point. I think when you look at tech more broadly, there's different types of technology, and certain technology is needed more than others in companies. So it could be easier to say, oh, we don't need that technology because it's a bit superfluous. I think the benefit of Salesforce is it is the CRM system, and the CRM system, which is the client relationship management system, is really the living, beating heart of a company and the team members. So really, they couldn't operate without it because it's their compliance. It's keeping all their data secure. It's how all the teams function every day and send emails every day. So in terms of the product stack and its resilience, if you are training up as a Salesforce professional and you work in a company where you use Salesforce, so for example, we placed one of our Supermums at Aston Martin, and they were responsible for looking after all of the dealership garages, and they use Salesforce to manage all of that. So if you're working in an end customer like Aston Martin, they're going to need you in that system to keep everything going. And so those jobs are the ones that are the most protected, if you like, are the ones that are in end customers, because a company will only perform if it's got a system. Where there's been a little bit of a knock-on effect of jobs, I would say, is for companies perhaps implementing new systems because they might have put certain things on hold. So they've probably got a system at the moment they're happy with. So we have seen a slight demise of jobs in the consultancy sector, which is where they are implementing new systems into companies because that's sort of a bit slowed down, not stopped for sure. And there's certain statistics that we were Salesforce shared with us to say, implementing technology and making the most of that, particularly with AI being banged around everywhere at the moment. There is still a thirst, but certain things will be slowing down because maybe their sales have slowed down, for example. So we're still very much seeing, people going for jobs, getting jobs, because a CRM system is always needed and used. You will struggle probably more to get a consultancy role, but to be fair, if you're really into your career right now, you're not going to go straight into a consultancy role anyway. You're going to go into an end user Salesforce role. You'll get 1 or 2 years experience, and then you can probably step into a consultancy when things have sort of shifted around in the economy a little bit. So it's still a good time to start building. Now, in terms of salaries and opportunities, people might, depending on their transferable skill set, you might start on 35 to 45 salary. So it really depends on your previous skills and experience and what you bring to it and how you sell yourself. And then you can quickly keep advancing that salary and increase it every 10. So if you move jobs in a year or 2 years, you could actually advance your salary another 10K, and you can keep going. So from there, you can go from 40 to 80 if you wanted within maybe 4 years. For that, and you can go to contract as well. So as a contractor, you can be earning 450 day rates after a couple of years. You might start on 200 and again increase. And the increase isn't just on like, oh, I've now got this many years experience. There is a commitment to lifelong learning and certification. So you do need to still continue learning Salesforce because there's always more to learn. You need to continue doing certifications. So there needs to be that appetite for that in order to increase that salary. There is that appetite to keep learning and working with different products, which might mean moving companies because maybe you've done what you can in one company and you've learned what you can. You then have to go, okay, this feels a bit too comfortable now. I'm going to challenge myself with something else, but that's going to get you that salary increase and that promotional opportunity. So, some of our Supermums have been very happy starting a role at like 40K and staying where they are because that suits them. They like feeling comfortable and safe, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Whereas other people have come in, and have got 11 certifications and have literally, doubled their salary in a couple of years because that's what they've wanted. They've wanted that salary. They've worked part-time initially to free up some time for study, and then they've got there. The success is what you make it, really. I can't guarantee that you're going to get that increase because it's really down to all of those building blocks that you put in place to do it. But it is possible if you get that methodology right.
It's like with anything, right? You get out what you put in. You have to make it happen for yourself. Take those reins. Take hold of your own career development. You mentioned imposter syndrome a little bit earlier. I'd like to touch on that. What have been some of your own experiences around that?
Every day you can be sort of have that little self-doubt in yourself. Am I good enough to do this or whatever? I'm a massive advocate for investing in training to learn from the experts. So I'm putting in place what they do. I think if I'm sat there not clear or not sure, I go, who do I go to get help and advice and to become their expert? And we talk about, in the coaching world, we talk about mirroring, can I say that word? And when I listen to my mentors and see how they do something and listen to how their methods and what they teach, I will then mirror them in my role, and I will step into their almost persona and deliver almost how they deliver, right? And it's you've got to step out of that shell of that person you were over there and step into the person you want to be. And if you don't know who the person is you want to be, i.e., you don't know, well, who's that person that can do all of X, Y, Z, and you haven't got anybody to model that on, it can be very hard. So that's why it's great to invest in training. It's great to have a mentor. It's great to shadow people and to learn from them, because as I say, then you can listen, learn, go, oh my God, I loved how they did that. And then you step into that persona, and that helps get you out of that imposter syndrome.
That is a great reflection, and I can totally resonate with that. Imposter syndrome is something that is very much an uphill battle. It likes to creep up on my shoulder every now and again when I least expect it. And I know we're not alone in this. It's a reoccurring conversation. Investing in coaches is, of course, one thing. But for those who don't maybe have the accessibility to coaches or a support system, what are some strategies that they can implement by themselves in their comfort of their home, in their office, wherever they may be?
Positive affirmations, make it happen. I've got around the house positive affirmations that remind me about, make it happen, or, you've got this. I've got my little book there. So I think positive affirmations is a big thing. I think it's been around and been part of other people like you that lift you up. So one of the biggest things that Supermums on our course say is that they like being part of a group of other trainees who are on that journey with them, because when one of them's feeling down, one of them's high, and then they lift each other up and bring them along, and they ride the highs and lows. And I've certainly found that, by having a cohort of women, I'm part of a cohort of women, they're part of cohorts of women who are in that, and not just women, there is men in there as well, sorry. But I think it's surrounding yourself by people who can lift you up and bring you on that journey when you're having those doubts. It's surrounding yourself with positive language.
Those are some brilliant, brilliant tips. Thank you for sharing. And it's just so great to hear about the evolution of Supermums and the journey that you've been on. And I'm wondering, what do you feel are the 3 key factors, contributing factors to the overall success of Supermums?
I think the overall success is a good question. I think one is building a team around you with the right skills and attributes. One of the things that I reflected on, I talk about this in the Ambitious Women mindset, is to stay in your lane and to know, what are you really good at, and what are those other skills that you need to bring in around you. So that's the first thing, is kind of know what you're good at. And I did psychometric tests for that. So I did talent dynamics, but there's other personality skill profiling tools. And that was like, oh, I get it now. Like, it's okay, I'll own this, but it's okay not to be those people and not be good at those things, and that you need other people for that. So one is, having a brilliant team around you and keep repositioning as you need to kind of make that happen. The second thing is if I coach myself, as an entrepreneur or whatever job, it goes back to that imposter syndrome, is things will happen. Like particularly when you're self-employed, it feels like, there's ups and downs of every single day, and it's knowing how to weather that emotionally and how to reframe things that happen. So I think for me personally, it's like not to get knocked over every time perhaps something doesn't quite happen, or if something goes wrong, it's kind of like, right, what are we going to do? So I'm quite a solutions person, but certainly having some coaching tools and techniques has helped me sort of keep building on that, because we say it like it's been 7 years, but say it's not an easy ride building a brand and getting out there. I think the third thing is I have, we have amplified our brand to get it out there. So I've overcome my fear of speaking on podcasts and, doing sort of writing more content and, building more partnerships and doing LinkedIn lives and reels. Some of those things I'm still not a big fan of, because it I like writing, right? You heard me read a book, but, it's sometimes overcoming your fear and doing some of those things that you don't want to do, to shout about what you're doing. And I think women don't shout enough about what they've achieved. They keep it under the hat, which is why they don't get promoted, they don't get the same salary increases, etc., etc. So I think it's I've been encouraging all my team to be more visible on social media, because I want them to see the team behind Supermums, not just me, and to shout about our successes, really. So I think that's the other kind of key thing, is we get a lot of word of mouth recommendations at Supermums because people see and talk about it. So it's also encouraging that and sharing it.
Yeah, coming out of the comfort zone, very scary, very tough, not easy, can fuel a lot of overthinking, a lot of nerves, anxiety, but it's so worth it. I always say short term, it's a bit painful, but long term, you see the benefits, as you have with getting Supermums out there more, getting that visibility and having referrals even and recommendations, which is great. And it takes time. It's not an easy thing to do. Being an entrepreneur, being self-employed, as you mentioned, it's a journey. It can feel quite scary. It can be really new for some people, going into new territories. So for new entrepreneurs, what advice can you share here for weathering storms?
Get yourself a coach. I'm going to keep playing that. It's really nice to have somebody to work alongside you and to keep you accountable, give you new ideas, brainstorm stuff, talk through challenges with. Like, you need that person who is there, and that can't be a friend or a partner, because they're quite often, not subjective. So it is worth investing in that, particularly as business partners as well, because that's the third person to help facilitate discussions quite often. So I think that's been a key attribute for me, is not feeling like I'm in it alone. And I also building a support network of entrepreneurs at a similar stage to me. Like, I struggled to find that for quite a while. Now I've got it. It's like there's a group of women who are all same ambition, same, similar, same business models. It's interesting what you can learn from all the different things. And, that's given me another real boost of energy, actually. It's just being part of that entrepreneurial group, because you can't, as an entrepreneur, you're sharing and talking about things that you wouldn't necessarily share and talk about with your team to start with. You'll want to introduce new ideas, brainstorm things, and then bring that back to the table and discuss it with them later. So I think it's great just, to have that additional support network.
Definitely. And are there any other groups or platforms that you can recommend people can join?
From a entrepreneurial perspective, my mentor's been Charlotte Wasman. So if you want to write a book or you want to learn about online business stuff, she has a great program called Empowered that can get you started. And I'm part of her mastermind group. That's the entrepreneurial network I'm part of. And she's my coach as well. So, I mean, I started working with her 5 years ago on growing Supermums. So if you've got an online business, want to write a book, want investment, she's definitely somebody to connect in with. And if you want to know anything more about Supermums and relaunching your career in tech, then you can check out our website at supermums.org as well.
Fantastic. I will link everything in the description box below so everybody can check that out. Let's dive back into relaunching a career after kids, because again, we hear those thoughts, we have those conversations with people. What does that mean for me if I have a family? Where does that mean my career is going to head? And there's a lot of conversation around it. What myths can you demystify about relaunching a career after kids?
Good question. So I think the reason I started Supermums is because everybody thinks that they can't have a flexible, well-paid career after having kids, that they need, they might absolutely, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, might want just a job they go to where they don't have to think. And if that's what they want, then absolutely fine. But for those that do want more, there is more. And a lot of people that come to us, and I was actually speaking to a mum about this morning, she'd really struggled to find flexible part-time work in the industry she was in, hence why she was like, I'm going to have to retrain and do something different. And at Supermums, we talk about there are flexible, well-paid career opportunities in this sector, right? So we kind of obviously have to give them that confidence that they exist. And it's so it's not settling for like there is no way to go. I mean, certainly with Supermums and Salesforce careers, it isn't the only route open to people. And I think it's almost like going back to when we were at school, is you've got to do your research, you've got to talk to people. And so we have two coaches or customer success, our customer success team and coaches that will speak to anybody about a Salesforce career any day. And it's not being afraid to pick up the phone, and have a conversation, because the only way that you're going to know But if it's a career for you, is to talk to somebody in that industry and have a conversation with them about it. And that's what I did when I was figuring out whether Salesforce was something I could do. So, do your research, talk to people about their jobs, find out if it's something you could do, talk about everything we've talked about today. What are those transferable skills? And then look into the ways to do that. Consider your options. Think about your learning style, because some people have tried to learn Salesforce for free. There is a platform called Trailhead. A lot of people try to do that, and navigate it themselves, but they don't get the mentoring, the accountability, the structure, the work experience. And then they spend 6 to 9 months trying to do it that way because it's free and never get anywhere because they just don't have the components to actually get a job. So with Supermums, we obviously put together that whole program. So we actually, even though they pay for our course, it accelerates their success because they get their money back quicker because they land a job quicker than if they were to just learn it themselves. But our learning style is that it very much suits people that like to be in a live training environment, that like the combination of having a system to play with, that like a mentor so they can ask questions each week and get the answers there and then. And so knowing this about myself as well, and also my kids, I'm going, okay, now I get why I didn't get something before, because we can be left with this view of like, I'm never going to get it. And actually, I'm never going to get it because I didn't understand their learning style and I wasn't trained in that way. So just be mindful, if you're relaunching your career, you're going to learn something new. Just make sure that you sign up to a training program that is going to be delivered in your preferred learning style. And there are free quizzes online that you can do to find out your learning style if you're not sure. So we talk about kinesthetic, audio, digital, and visual learners, and you'll have a predominant one and a secondary one. And that's going to set you up for success. So there's some of the things that I think we need to demystify. Is it is possible. You have to do the research. You have to make sure you train up in the right way. You have to make sure that you build that network and that support and that accountability to, I suppose, achieve those aspirations.
Heather, it's been so much fun learning more about Supermums. I'm really excited about what's to come, the book launch, the 7-year celebration. If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self, what one piece of advice would you share with them?
Just keep following your dreams and having the courage to do it. So when you go back to 18, you don't know what you don't know. And I'm really, every step of the journey that I've taken has been for a reason, and I keep learning and developing. So yeah, just go for it, really. Don't anybody tell you can't do it.
Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, Heather. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to today's episode, and we hope you're feeling inspired. If you are, please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and join us on our mission to create a diverse, inclusive, and equitable universe. This podcast is brought to you by Equal IT, a mission-driven business working to diversify tech teams through refined talent acquisition, complemented by diversity and inclusion consulting. As an Azure Heroes inclusive leader, we aim for teams to cultivate a strong sense of belonging and equity. Find us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We welcome your feedback, questions, and would love to hear from you. Join us next time on Equal Inspired.